So studies say that if you're a internet-only company and you open a retail storefront, you will increase your sales from that area by over 30%.
Wow.
And we're talking about website traffic. So the sales to your website will go up within an area if you open a retail store. And so what happens is you're no longer evaluating the success of a retail store by the sales that it generates in the store. You're evaluating the success of the retail store by the number of purchases that are generated through the web, picked up in the store, through the web, shipped to that area. And there are other metrics that are currently being used to really demonstrate success for a store.
You know, I opened my phone up this morning and I read an article that said 7 Walgreens are closing in the Denver metro area. I'm not here to knock retail or big box retail, but it's certainly big box retail has been impacted by e-commerce. Correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me about the changes you've seen in big box retail since you started in the 90s.
So big box retail has really figured out the whole internet component because we call our big box retailers today omnichannel retailers because what they've done is they've used their retail stores as distribution hubs, right? So if you think about when you go to a larger national chain that's a retailer or a big box retailer, you can acquire the products that you're looking to buy in various different ways. You can order on the web and pick it up in the store. You can go into the store and have it shipped to your house. You can pull up in front in a designated space and have them deliver it to you within 3 minutes. You know, you can check their inventory. You can have it delivered in 1 day from that store. And so there are various ways that the retailer today has successfully navigated the challenges that Amazon and COVID and other market conditions have provided and are very successful. Now, you hear in the news all sorts of closings, right? So what did we hear the other day? I think what's closing now? Party City, right? And I'm sure you have
Party's over.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Party's over for Party City, which is true. But you know, Party City occupies space, which is very desirable. Our business has record high occupancy levels. I think our portfolio, is at a 97% occupancy rate. Okay. Wow. So there is very little opportunity for us to actually fill our spaces unless somebody goes out of business. So, you know, when Bed Bath & Beyond went out, we were pretty happy because they had long-term leases at really low rents, and we were able to replace those tenants with much higher paying rent tenants. Now that Party City is going out of business, we have, you know, maybe 5 or 6 in our portfolio. Wow. It's an opportunity for us to replace them with better quality, higher grade credit tenants paying more rent. And so the other question everybody asks me is, well, you know, why not supermarket anchored? Because, you know, supermarket anchored is the best of the retail, the safest, the most secure. And some of that is true, right? But if you think about it, we were in the supermarket business, and when we signed a supermarket lease as supermarket operators, you know, we signed a 50-year lease with almost no increases in rent, right? So many of the supermarkets today have very long-term leases with very low rental increases. And so most of your rental increases that you're getting when you own a supermarket anchor center is from your, you know, mom and pop, pizzeria, or the dry cleaner or the nail salon, right? The local guys that are next to the supermarket. And that's where some of your increases are coming from. But we like big box. And also, you have to remember, in the big box world, a lot of these centers were built in the aughts and the late 90s and mid 90s. And those leases are coming up to the end of term. Wow. And so we've got in the mid 25s to 30s, you know, we've got a whole bunch of opportunity because these leases are now coming to term. And we have negotiating power today because of the lack of vacancy in the marketplace. And so a big box retailer is going to have a harder time today moving their store down the road than they would have, 5 or 10 years ago.
Wow. You may be comfortable with this. You may not be comfortable with this.
Okay.
I've heard from friends who are landlords, like Starbucks is the pain to deal with, or like Burlington has cult followings and they do long-term lease. Do you have any funny stories of well-known tenants?
The best story I like to tell is the story during COVID from McDonald's. So, during COVID, you really understood what a tenant's value system was, right? And who you were as an operator and who the tenants were as operators. And the story I tell is, let's take Starbucks, you mentioned, and McDonald's, two different worlds. Starbucks, which we have, several Starbucks in our portfolio, proceeded to pay no rent and negotiate hard for rent reductions, deferments, concessions during COVID period, right?
Wow.
McDonald's sent a letter from I think it was the head of US, and basically said that we have been your partner for 40 years. We value that partnership and we will continue to pay rent during this period of time because we understand the stresses that you're going through. And you are a valued partner of ours, and we will support you like you have supported us. And I have a copy of that letter, and I always think about that because you've got two value systems, right, from two tenants that did fairly well during the COVID period, right?
Did the McDonald's letter say, P.S., let us know when you want to sell?
No, but McDonald's, that to me, that's a corporate culture. That's a view of partnership in the world. And that really shows what type of organization you are. And, Starbucks, they, protected their assets. They negotiated hard for concessions and benefits and deferments. Similar to many other tenants that we had who did that. But I always go back to that letter from McDonald's because to me, that was just a key difference between corporate cultures.
So interesting. We have 110 tenants. We did in March of 2020. And I know exactly what you're talking about. That April 1st, 2020 was an interesting day. We have a lot of mom and pops, and we really found the mom and pops just showed up and paid their rent. And that was just a nod to, a nod to small business. And, it's like you said, it's very interesting to see the different values of different companies.
It is, during COVID, again, for us, we have, if you look on our website, we've got our core values and we really take those core values seriously. And so during COVID, we basically told all of our vendors that we will pay you in full, regardless of whether you're coming to our centers or not. We expect you to pay your employees in full. We paid everybody in full. All of our lenders, we didn't ask for any forbearance stocks, no deferments on loans. We just continued as business as usual, supporting those people who support us over the years. And so that's just who we are. And it's nice to see that that's actually out there in other firms, as I shared as an example. We did something called Big D Cares where we supported all of our restaurant tenants. We put up signs. We, did advertising for them. We bought in various centers from our restaurant tenants. We bought lunches for first responders. We, did a whole host of initiatives to support our tenants.
Wow.
So fun, but that's who we are. That's comes from being in business 80 years and being through many cycles and surviving many, many business cycles through the 80 years that we've been around.
Yeah. I've seen a trend recently. These pickleball concepts are going into Bed Bath & Beyonds. It's this thing we're seeing. Are there any of these new emerging uses that, like pickleball, where you're seeing LOIs for your centers and going, wow, I never would have thought in a million years this would be on my desk?
There are interesting concepts coming out. What I find fascinating too is the number of internet-only companies that are opening up retail storefronts. Wow. So studies say that if you're a internet-only company and you open a retail storefront, you will increase your sales from that area by over 30%.
Wow.
If you close the store, you have a similar degradation in your website traffic. And we're talking about website traffic. So the sales to your website will go up within an area if you open a retail store. And so what happens is you're no longer evaluating the success of a retail store by the sales that it generates in the store. You're evaluating the success of the retail store by the number of purchases that are generated through the web, picked up in the store, through the web, shipped to that area. And there are other metrics that are currently being used to really demonstrate success for a store.
I mean, I just think as a culture, we can't ever go without retail.
You can't.
Ever. Gyms, restaurants, salons, like culturally, retail is essential.
It's a social event, right? When you're out, you go out. I mean, my kids, buy some stuff online, but they actually like to go look at the stuff they're looking to buy, whether it's clothing or other things. They actually like to look at it. So they'll drive to look at a product that they're interested in purchasing.
Yeah.
And we see that all over the place. And our traffic is up. So we use a fascinating product, and I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but it's called Placer AI. And this is not a plug at any way means for this product, but it allows us to track the traffic of the individual shopper and where they go on a minute by minute basis. So we track through all of our shopping centers where the customer goes, when they go, where they go after they go to a store, and then what is the shopping pattern of that customer within the shopping center. And then we look at modifying our signage and the way we deal with customer traffic based upon what we see in these patterns. And so it's pretty interesting today in the technology that's available to help us service the customers that we have.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
We do warehousing, and we always say that there's tiers of tenants. Mm-hmm. Is there a tenant that if they call you, the use is just like no every single time?
Yes, there are. There are tenants that are more difficult to deal with than other tenants, and other tenants are easier to deal with. I would say the only bad tenant would be a tenant who doesn't pay rent. So not getting rent is not a good thing, yes, as you probably well know. But I would say that there are certainly in these shopping centers that we own, there are tenants that are more desirable for the product mix that we have in that shopping center compared to other tenants. So, for example, vape shops. I don't think we have any vape shops.
That's what I was at.
And so we own one of the what I call vanity purchases. We purchased 3 ski villages. So we own the ski village at Copper Mountain. We own the ski village at Snowshoe, which is in West Virginia. And then we own the ski village at Stratton Mountain, which is in Vermont. And so those, I call them a little bit vanity purchases because we, like to ski, and there was an opportunity for us to buy those retail villages, and it's all retail. And so we did. Wow. But that's a different product, and it's an interesting product. And I would say that because it's seasonal, they're more difficult to deal with.
Wow. As someone who listens to different niches day in and day out, that is a new one. That's fascinating.
very different retail environment. I think we bought them because we liked skiing and not necessarily because we thought they were going to be great investments. They've turned out to be good investments, but it's an interesting play for us because that's definitely not big box retail.
Nonetheless, a great reason to dust off your skis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Good reason to come to Colorado. You know, copper, we always pass through Denver and we're always in Colorado, so it's fun.
Absolutely. Will you tell us who you are, what you do, and how we came to be here today on Commercial Real Estate Secrets?
Sure. So happy to share. I'm going to give you my elevator speech. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to interrupt me. So we started way back in 1942. My grandfather opened up a corner grocery store. In the 50s, he actually was one of the first people to use crowdsourced funding because he sold $100 savings bonds to all of his customers who walked through the door to be able to build a much bigger supermarket. And that's how he financed it. So before crowdsource or CrowdStreet or anything, he was on the corner selling $100 savings bonds to all of his customers to finance a store.
Wow.
Which is kind of fun, right? So opened up the store. That chain grew. At the time we sold the company, we had about 34 supermarkets, about 4,000 employees, and did, a fair amount of business. We sold the supermarket company, but kept the retail. So at the time, my grandfather actually used to drive around with my grandmother, look at locations, look at all the areas around and look the houses and say, okay, we're going to build a supermarket here. He would build the supermarket and a shopping center, which we would own. And then he would also buy all the land around the supermarket and the shopping center. He'd sell all the land around and then use that capital to build the next store. And that's how he financed his growth over a period of 20 or 30 years. And so it's a pretty interesting story. But he was really the real estate king at the time because he and my grandmother would just drive around looking for locations. No demographics, no study, no really anything except, this looks like a good place to put a supermarket.
Wow.
So fun story. So we sold the company back in the 80s, but kept the real estate and then transitioned the real estate to around the country. So I joined back in 1995 and decided that we needed to be countrywide to mitigate our family risk. And so we started to expand our footprint. And now we're in, I want to say 14 states around the country with 54 shopping centers plus a host of other types of real estate.
Fascinating. I can relate. My real estate story started with my grandfather and grandmother and who just shaped our futures today. And I think about them literally every single day when I get to lease and manage the properties that they bought in the 60s and the 70s and 80s. And what a legacy and a pleasure. But I don't have to tell you about that.
It is. And I still own the office building that my grandfather built for these supermarkets back in the 70s. I still own the original location where the store was. We still own a bunch of that legacy real estate, which is really kind of fun. But today, we're really focused still in retail, but in a different segment of the retail market. So at that time, we were focused on supermarket anchored centers, right? Because we own the supermarkets and the shopping centers. And we transitioned to a different segment of the retail real estate, which is open air, big box centers. And so our centers today are basically the dominant centers in the market. And big box meaning they've got, say, a Target, and then they've got Best Buy, Ross Stores, TJ Maxx, those types of tenants. And those are the tenants that populate most of our shopping centers.
Mr. Rosenberg.
Yes.
What makes you happy with what you do? Aside from clearly making your grandparents very, very proud.
My grandparents, I think about my grandfather a lot because, when he used to drive around buying land and building supermarkets without any demographics, without any formal training. I mean, he finished sixth grade, right? And so, and that was it. And today we have all this interesting information that we use. But what makes me happy really is providing a clean, safe environment for people to shop. And so, when I walk around, I like the feel of real estate. And you probably do the same thing, third generation, you walk around, you feel the building, you feel the solidness. So this is not stocks and bonds where it's in an account with a little line item as to what it's worth. It's physical. You can see it and it's impactful to people, right? So what you do provides value to others through a very physical way. And so, our shopping centers are well lit, they're clean, they're safe, they provide a good shopping environment for our customers, and that's what makes me happy.
Love it. I love to hear. I get it. If you see behind me, I have a picture of the first warehouse my grandfather ever bought. And trust me, I get it. I get it.
And do you walk around and feel the solidness of the warehouse and say, wow, this is solid. This is real. This is life.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have a funny, I made this really heartfelt post on LinkedIn about how it's these warehouses are the legacy, and I walk on the concrete and I feel the legacy. And then I got a call from a local broker. I saw your LinkedIn post. Do you want to sell? No. Did you read the post?
Right.
But there was trust me, I get it. It's really special. And there's, we always say, not a lot of things more powerful than paid off real estate. So.
Yep, I would agree. And we're providing value to people.
Yeah.
We're providing, I hope we provide happiness through the services that we provide. And we try to, to continue the legacy that was created from both our grandparents, years ago.
I love it. Mr. Rosenberg, for the listeners, where can they find you, follow you, learn more about Big V, etc.?
Okay, well, you can go to bigv.com and, we've got all the information about ourselves there. Feel free to visit some of our shopping centers. If you look online, we own the Rim in San Antonio, Texas, which is the number one visited outdoor center in Texas. So it's about 1 million square feet. So it's a big center. We own some centers outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and in Phoenix, Arizona. So all sorts of fun places. Please feel free to go look, send us a message, email, you can see our team members, but we are a group of professionals that love what we do.
Mr. Rosenberg, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a blast. I think we brought the listeners a ton of value. Yep. And for everybody listening, we'll see you next week.